welcome Jason, Head of Marketing at Parcel Protect, and the panel.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Like we said, today's panel is about navigating the moment after, managing the post-purchase experience. And what we're here to talk about today is that moment after checkout when the sale is made, but the experience hasn't begun yet and is still to play out. So I'd like to thank our guests today. Firstly, Lillie from Harry & Kit. Thank you for joining us. And also Yasna from Sunshine Curls. Both of these guys are founders who have some great insights to share today. And we'll get started. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
If I could throw to both of you, but I suppose, Lillie, maybe start with you first. Just tell us a little bit about your business, how you got started at Harry & Kit, and
So I own Harry & Kit. It's a furniture, homewares and fashion business. Started in Gundawindi in country Queensland, and then we opened a second store in Toowoomba, regional Queensland, just outside of Brisbane. We import furniture and homewares from overseas, so we're bringing in our own unique, one-of-a-kind products. But then we also have Australian-based brands that we on-sell. We are also heavily online and shipping all across Australia.
Yasna.
Hi, my name's Yasna. I'm the owner of Sunshine Curls, and we sell curly hair products across Australia to people that have curly hair. I import products across the world and bring them to our warehouse in Gold Coast, and learning how to provide really good customer experience and familiarity and reassurance with people's hair, and here to learn and grow and take my business to the next level.
Thanks, guys. And just a little bit about Parcel Protect. At Parcel, we work closely with retailers like these guys during that post-purchase window, especially when things don't go to plan during delivery. So Parcel Protect is an easy-to-install app on Shopify, Neato, and Wix. We provide delivery insurance, fast resupply, a full claims management experience, all together in one simple platform. We create a smooth experience for your customers. And we take the workload off your team, ensuring that delivery issues are handled quickly, professionally, and without disrupting your day-to-day. So today we wanted to focus on some real stories from our guests, who both have different business models. Yasna purely online, and Lillie a bit of both with bricks and mortar and online. But hearing about how they go about managing their customer expectations around delivery, especially when things potentially don't go perfectly. So I just want to throw it to you guys to start off with. What are the sort of the experiences that you've had around expectations that your customers have around the delivery experience? Maybe Yasna, we'll start with you. Yeah.
Sure. So my customers expect basics, like the orders turning up on time, things arriving in good conditions, and also getting that personal experience as well. They know that I've got curly hair, they know that I've struggled with it, so they like to be educated as well and have that sense of one-on-one connection. So it's education piece as well as also how the item turns up as well.
Yeah. Lillie, how about yourself?
So we sell obviously furniture and homewares, and we are a small guy in a big pond. So we want to. When people come to us, they're probably a little bit unsure about who we are, what we are, and if we're legit. So we really like to, try and reiterate that and to make that customer journey as smooth as possible, and to make them feel as safe as possible buying with us, because they may not have ever heard of us. And they may have worries. As you do online, you never know who you're dealing with and how big or little they are, and you just want that reassurance of the product turning up that you order.
And you're a regional business from Western Queensland, etc. Has that played into it at all with the fulfilment questions that your customers have come up with, or is that no?
Yeah, being located rurally, I always from the start. And still now, we aren't big on. We do share that we're in rural and regional, but we don't highlight it, because I think that we're all still learning in that online space that you can actually buy from anywhere in Australia and your product will turn up or should turn up. And it doesn't matter if they are big or small, but there's definitely hurdles that you have to go through because it is harder to get things shipped out from Western Queensland, from anywhere rurally. But couriers do go there, and you know you can get things shipped from that location.
And Yasna, you grew your business at home and packing orders at home, etc.
Yeah.
So when did fulfillment start to become a key part of what you needed to think about as you were growing your business?
Great question. I actually had a business coach at the time. So yeah, I started off in my 4th bedroom and then the garage and then I had a warehouse. And then I had a business coach and he said, well, you should hire someone or you should outsource when it starts to hurt. And it was starting to hurt at the time. I have a little one. I have a little girl, 2 little girls, and I wanted to scale my store. And I couldn't do that if I was doing everything myself. And I was finding myself thinking big picture, like I want to have 100 orders, I want to have 200 orders, and I physically could not do that myself. I was having the store was growing and I was having inventory mishaps, and I wanted to just scale, and I had to make the decision that it was time to move to a 3PL and focus on growth. Very difficult thing to do, but yes, that's sort of how I made that decision. Yeah.
And I suppose a question for both of you, you both compete against big brands and well-known brands with high expectations from their customers about their fulfillment, and are they going to make good on things that potentially go wrong, especially during delivery. At what point did those expectations start to hit home that when you're servicing your customers and fulfilling orders and something necessarily doesn't go right, that they're looking for that level of customer experience and service from you guys? Is that something that was immediately obvious or took a while to sort of learn from, I suppose, the rough edges?
So it's not something that I didn't know that there was a product out there that could help. We have forever dealt with breakages. We also, with our products, because we sell unique furniture and homewares, it doesn't come in a perfect box, and people's orders can't be perfectly boxed either. So, and also customers don't want to pay very much for shipping. If you're like me, when I'm shopping online, I don't like paying for shipping, but as a small business, I have to charge shipping. And when it isn't coming in a perfect box, then we have to come up with ways of packaging it so that it's as safe as possible and we'll get to that customer. We had breakages, and I didn't think there was anything out there that could help with those breakages. That was just something that we had to wear until I came across Grace Brennan from Buy from the Bush introduced us to Parcel Protect, and it was eye-opening to be told about this product, that we could have someone there to help facilitate those breakages, and that it could potentially somewhat save us money and save us time in the long run.
And Yasna, your brand's obviously closely tied to you personally. You put a lot into it, and obviously, like every founder does. Has that reliability around making good on those sort of things impacted you personally with you know the expectations that customers have, and knowing you personally that you stand behind that product and having to deliver on that promise, essentially? Yes,
it does. It does. It's not a very sort of sexy thing to sort of talk about, because actually in this day and age we want to lean on AI, we want to lean on automation and sort of very quickly, you know, have everything sorted out and blast everything out. But people really do appreciate that human touch. And I find that I really want to, you know, provide that level of service to everybody all the time. So I am the face of social media, and people really like that. And, you know, that does help me generate sales. But I need to... And this is where I work with you guys, was because I was getting stuck in the weeds of having to deal with delayed items or something like a shampoo would spill. And then I spoke to my insurance broker and said, can I claim on that? And they said, no. Your excess is $250. And I said, oh, okay. Well, then he scoped out NTI, and they took the time out so I could get that time back. So I actually was able to focus on growing my business, whereas these guys could actually handle that and gave that personal sort of familiarity and fix the problem personally for my customers without me having to do it. So it was a really, it was a silent savior, to be honest. Yeah.
And Lillie, we've spoken a bit about a particularly grueling scenario that you've had, an experience that you had managing a post-purchase issue that you had. I wonder if you could maybe speak to that a little bit. And I suppose this gets into how fast these types of things can sort of escalate and get to the point where real brand damage is happening.
So I have always, when I've started the business, I've always gone with customers always right, or if in doubt, be generous. And we had one particular customer, they bought something online, we shipped it out, and they have emailed saying that the shipping notification that they got was in another language and that it hasn't been delivered. So we went in, found the order, tracked it, and it had said it was delivered. So then we reached out to the courier and said, this customer has said it hasn't been delivered. What are next steps? And they sent back a photo of the door that it was in front of. And we sent an email to the customer to say, this is the response from the courier. This is a photo of it being delivered. And they've replied and said, well, that isn't my door. And we said, okay, well, to speed things up, we're going to now lodge a claim to say that it's been delivered to the wrong address. Can you do the same? And we reassured them throughout that time to say, that we're here, but just to make it go quicker, you lodge a claim as well. And in that time, they wrote on anywhere that they could find our business online, a review. And they also got their friends to comment. There was probably, I think, 4 to 5 comments saying send them to the ACCC. But in all of this time, we were there saying that, we will get to the bottom of this, and if it's been delivered to the wrong place, you will get a refund. And the outcome of that, and then we just replied to that comment, and it's the worst comment we've had. I've always been really big on getting reviews. So, at that stage, I think we had 120 reviews, 5-star. And then it was our first one where we got a 1-star, and it was, a horrific review with their friends. And we got we gave them the refund, and we even got a refund from the courier, but it was too late. And that it was stressful, because seeing that written about your business and thinking, well, what damage is that going to be? Because Google also puts that at the top. Even if you have 100 reviews, 5-star reviews, they put it right at the top. But what I did appreciate from that very unhappy customer was they were very honest in what they wrote. And I hope you actually go and look it up and you read the review, because what they've written was very, they said the stages, but they were also did it in a negative way. But really, I thought, well, if you're intelligent, you read this and then you see our response, you'll go, oh, well, they've handled that quite well. In my opinion, maybe you'll think differently. But it was time-consuming to do that. And stressful, and took me out of the day-to-day. And now looking to have the support of, to bring it back to Parcel Protect, that to have that support, that I don't actually have to do that now. If that happens now, we just direct them, if they don't already go straight to Parcel Protect, because it's on our website, but we direct them to Parcel Protect, and they'd sort that, so it wouldn't even be a worry for me, because I don't have to deal with that customer, because we've kind of got an illegitimate employee through Parcel Protect that is dealing with that and then providing an exceptional outcome when all the boxes are ticked, and all the boxes have always been ticked with our claims.
And I suppose the hard part as well is that most of your service to your customers is in your control. How you package your product, how you market it, etc. But when it's something that's gone wrong through a carrier or a delivery, it's outside of your control. But I imagine in most cases the customers are still looking for you to make that right. Yeah. Yasna, I think you had a similar instance with running through customers, and was it shampoo that was spilt in in a container, etc., that you were telling us about before as well.
Yeah, a customer was just sent me a message. It was quite a cold message. Just wasn't to the same degree. But they were just immediately on the offensive that this has turned up in this condition, and it was a very formal, very cold message. And I've picked up that if I replied quickly, I might be able to save this transaction. So I quickly said, we've got a first-class service for these sorts of things, sent it to Parcel Protect, and they fixed it. And she came back surprised that it had been fixed and was warm and was like, wow, I didn't know that. I wasn't expecting this turnaround, and was a little bit of tail between the legs, a little bit grateful and surprised. And for me, it was because you have to be perceptive, like when you're reading the message from the customer. And I think that the speed of the reply and the prioritization, that it is something that we care about. We've paid $50 for a shampoo. It disarmed her and made her feel like heard, and then it was fixed. So it was the prioritization, and then it was the resolution.
Do you feel like speed is the operative thing there, that you got back to her so quickly?
It's what people tell me they appreciate more. Yeah.
This is not going to drag out for 2 or 3 weeks.
They're like, oh, I didn't expect you to get back to me so quickly. I get that a lot.
You had a pretty busy run up to Black Friday last year as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I suppose we talked a little bit about the operational decisions that you had to make to get your business ready for that time period. I suppose, can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So Black Friday had this, like, not Black Friday, but the vamp up meant the couriers kind of all had a bit of a slowdown. And I noticed that there was an issue with my 3PL, and I had to basically switch 3PLs after Black Friday just to achieve operational excellence. Operations really have to be airtight in order to scale. It's not a sexy thing, but it's something that I feel like I needed to have in order to provide excellence. If I want to put on my website that your orders will be sent out in 24 hours, they do need to be sent out within 24 hours. And I was with a company that promised that, but then didn't deliver. So Black Friday was just a difficult time, and I was perceptive about that and bringing it back to you guys again, I contracted them to help me out because I thought that I might get a delay, and I did, and they took care of the customer-facing element when there was a delay or when there was a problem. So I identified there was an issue, came up with a solution, and then after the peak period in January, I moved 3PLs, which was a huge decision, but I'm still a very small business. So it was like the right time to make a difficult decision in January when the sales had slumped down. It was extreme, but I'm in a much better position now to scale. So I hope that,
I just want to add that again, bringing it back to Parcel Protect, but having Parcel Protect there allows me as a business to know that I can compete with the bigger guys, because if a customer is unsure, if I can communicate enough to the customer that you will get your order or your money back or a replacement, if it's lost, damaged, stolen, you're going to be no better off. You're either going to be happy or your bank account's going to be full again. And I think like that to me is why I did sign up for it, because I could then offer what all the other big retailers are offering, but it wasn't costing my business an arm and a leg to do it.
And is that important for your customers, because a lot of your products are bespoke, they're one of one? So I suppose that level of confidence to buy, is that important for your customers?
Well, yes, but I think I always bring it back to how do I shop, and maybe you might think, oh, well, that's silly because you're just one person, but I think no, how I shop and how I feel when I'm buying, like when I find something that I like and I don't like the business, I go to the returns page, I go to the shipping page, I look at all that before I buy. And yes, when it is a one-off piece, you're probably like, well, is this a one-off piece? Is it going to look like this? What am I going to get here? So it's that extra level of reassurance that you're dealing with someone who's legitimate here, because this is their promise, and they've got it all over their website, and then they have, you can feel the trust there, I guess.
So I suppose as you've gone through your journeys, is there anything that you've learned around the maybe the fulfillment side of things that you maybe would wish you could go back and tell yourselves when you were first starting the business, be it packaging or just choice of provider or etc. Is there anything that you've learned the hard way through a lot of these experiences in the last 3 months? Maybe Yasna, I'll start with you.
Just trying to think about it. Yeah, it's a tricky question. It's hard to say when you're in a growth stage, but don't cheap out on your 3PL. Make the decision knowingly. Make sure you've got the margin in order to accommodate. And just don't go for the lowest cost, because sometimes that can really cost you elsewhere.
Did you find that not just cost, but the cost in time that it took you out of
That's
you know,
right.
taking you out of the day-to-day, and you want to focus on growing your business, but those choices can take the mental space that takes up. Yeah,
I think that's a really good point. And as a small business, you are expected to kind of give that. Like Maya, David Jones, they've got the infrastructure to provide that service, and yet as a small business, you're sort of expected to, because you're the face of the brand, expected to kind of provide that big box kind of solution, and often you kind of spread thin across all the different things that you're running. So
but
time is
what
very important.
makes your business special is the personalised connection that your customers have to your brand and to you, and the same with you, Lillie. It's so unique businesses that people are making these emotional purchases because they love your product. And then the expectation that's on top of that is, well, you're going to deliver on that because I feel like I know you. Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right. And then, that's why I think it's just important to prioritize where you spend your energy and how you can use technology to alleviate you in some areas, but then allow you to still have that personal touch in others. So you really do have the best of both worlds. And in this case, it's using Parcel Protect to just take that piece out, because operations, once they get messy, they really do take up a lot of your time. Because if you prioritize customer service, like obviously Lillie does and I do, then you get stuck in the weeds really quickly. It's a balance and choosing wisely where you want to spend your time. Yeah.
And Lillie, I know we spoke about packaging and what you look at around making sure that your really bespoke items that can be quite fragile and one-offs get there in the right shape. Is that something that you've learned a lot during your sort of time as growing, the importance of packaging and making sure that those sort of things are put together?
Yeah, and we are still always learning, because you just don't know how rough that courier is going to be with your pieces. So, we do have breakages, and, I always let the team know when there has been a breakage, just so that it's not to say that they've done a bad job, but just to say, hey, there's a courier out there that's not being gentle, so we've got to go thicker. So it's always a learning curve, and, to bring back to your question before about, I wish it's freed me up having the protection there, which has allowed me to focus on other things, which might be looking at packaging again, and it's just because you're always trying to better your processes, right? When you're growing, nothing's ever perfect, and there's new things always coming out as we're learning. Being here, there's always new products and things, so it's always a learning curve. Yeah.
Well, thanks very much, guys. We might, if there's a couple of questions or any questions from the group here, we might throw it open. If not, we might call it there. Oh.
Firstly, thank you so much for being here, folks. I know it's a very, very long way from Toowoomba.
The road was bumpy.
I could only assume so. You do speak a lot about, I guess, the negative experiences, and I suppose these are sort of what I would like to hope are the outliers. It's not really a day-to-day, week-to-week where you would have these apocalyptic events where things are going wrong. I myself also exist in a sort of boutique small business, and on the 90% side of things, we put a lot of focus onto the visual element and the sort of experiential place where someone actually receives a product. For you guys personally, does that factor into a lot of these post-purchase decisions? Because frankly, it is oftentimes a lot more expensive, and there is a cost always with these sort of things to have that experience outside of, say, these situations that are kind of horrendous. On the standard order procedure, how much of that focus comes down to that experience, how that is visually?
Are you referring to packaging and how it's presented when you open the box?
Packaging, presentation, it's the little things, notes, handwritten notes when you are a founder, these sort of things. To what level is that something that is in your consciousness, or is that sort of like here's a standard, we set it and we forget it?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah. That is so important to me. Even though we have to come up with weird and wonderful ways of packaging some of our pieces, because I think I did mention my products from overseas do not come in a perfect box. Some of them don't come in packaging at all. It's wrapped in a bit of bubble wrap, and so we have to either buy boxes, or we reuse boxes that certain products do come in. But unfortunately, sometimes that box on the outside doesn't look great, but on the inside, we are always writing a thank you note, a personally written thank you note, talking about the product that you have bought. And yes, that might take a bit of time, and I know the bigger businesses have said we used to do that, and now we don't have the time, but that still is so important. And then just recently, as minute as this is, I just got stickers and they got delivered this week of, it's a sticker that goes on any box that is a reused box, and it just says, this is a recycled box, and we're just trying to reuse things so that we're not throwing it out, essentially. And so I hope that even if the outside doesn't look great, they can read that and go, well, they are trying to do something, because you can't do everything as a small business. You can only do some things. But on the inside, we try and make the inside as nice as possible as we can without having perfect boxes and everything printed nicely, because that all comes at a huge expense for small business. And I think it's appreciated. I do. And I think we will continue to do that for as long as we can afford to do that as a small business, without delaying those packages going out in a timely manner.
Well, that's good to know. At least I'm not psychotic and the only one handwriting notes.
Just to add to that as well, because you've obviously covered the packaging side perfectly, I think there's another element is also the piece of education and experience. The keynote yesterday, the lady that spoke from LSKD, she really leaned in on this, and I just want to talk about it. I think what I'll be rolling out is some sort of QR code which can show people how to use their hair products. A lot of the people that actually use my products don't know. They don't know how to stop straightening their hair. They don't know what to do. And whether or not how it applies to your business, just providing a little bit of after-sales education is also probably part of that and brings loyalty. So yes, presentation, but also is there something that you can build in that will put you apart from your competitors just because you actually care and you give that extra piece of information on how to make the most out of your product. So hopefully that helps. Answers your question.
Of course.
On that note, what other post-purchase, is there email workflows, or what sort of other follow-up are you doing to build a relationship with your customers?
Great question. Yes, I do have a post-purchase flow. What products would be best friends with what you've bought? Of course, we're looking at marketing here, so we are trying to continue to keep people in the loop. We're also trying to educate as well. That trust element is huge. Honestly, Instagram. I put a lot of one-to-one on there, and I do have people coming back and talking to me there. And I know that's a bit of a it's hard work. So I do outsource, and I do get UGC creators to help me build that. But I find that people, when they buy or when they're just considering buying, they'll kind of come knocking on the door. It's like a touch base of, is someone home? And they go to your social media to check, and they kind of feel familiar with you that way. So that's another way I find nurturing customers is very effective for my business. I'm not sure about yourself.
Yeah, I have a post-purchase flow. And to begin with, when I started the business, I literally, every night when I put my kids to bed, I used to physically email customers. It would be an email from me, whereas now I have created it to seem very genuine, like it is coming from me, but it's an automated email.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you to Lillie and Yasna as well. So give them a quick round of applause. Thank you. Any further questions or sharing experiences around the post-purchase, please feel free to come and talk to the Parcel Protect team. We'll mill around for a little while if anyone wants to come and ask us other questions as well. But thank you very much for your time today. Thank you. Appreciate it.